Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and or girls. This is Greg Romero Wilson. It is September 12th, 2019. And before we get started, on a personal note, today is the 4th anniversary of the passing of my father. And I'll tell you this, the relationship between fathers and sons, much like that between mothers and daughters, is often very complicated, very complex relationship. But as anyone knows who has lost a parent, that it is a very different relationship after that. Hopefully everyone gets a chance to reconcile before the passing, as I did with my father, and we ended up. But I'll tell you what, the one thing that we always had in common was football, particularly the Dallas Cowboys. And I'll never forget when my father did pass, and I made it to the hospital just after he passed. And he was laying there, or what was him was laying there, and I came up and I began to cry, and I remember touching my father on the hand and saying, "You couldn't wait till tomorrow? The Cowboys play tomorrow." And everyone laughed, and it kind of broke the tension in the room, and I know I laughed through the tears. And so football, it does have a way of binding us together. In fact, this year I created for the first time a friends and family fantasy football league. And I created this friends and family fantasy football league because I wanted to stay in better touch with friends that are scattered across the United States now. I have friends in New York and family in New York, and a buddy of mine in Denver, and down in other parts in Dallas where I used to live, a number of them, and some here in LA. And so it's just a great way for us all to stay in touch and give each other shit and talk all season long. And it's already worked out like a charm. I talk to these guys more now than I do at any ever. We talk now all the time. But let's jump into it. Let's jump into fantasy football. Football week 2. We're already here. Already week 2. I'll tell you what. It's just like it's just like Christmas. Like, it takes so long to arrive, and then it goes so fast once it gets here. So we're already into week 2. Week 1 already happened. I went 3-0 in my leagues. Jose, what's going on? Little Rob, what's going on? Thank you guys for tuning in. We're talking fantasy football. If you have any lineup questions, if you have any predicaments, if there's anything you want to talk about, you just tap it right in there. This is a live on Facebook Live show, as well as my podcast, which goes out. So for those of you listening to the podcast on iTunes or on SoundCloud, you may hear me talking and interacting with some of the folks on the Facebook Live broadcast. What's up, Little Rob? Just getting ready to talk about week 2, man. Gonna roll through it because it starts tonight. Like, can I tell you, football, in many ways, it kind of ruins my week because I just don't care about anything else. Like, I'm trying to just okay, great, Tuesday, okay, Wednesday, let's get through Wednesday, okay, Thursday, let's just get through Thursday. I just want to get to the games. I just love it so very much. Diaz Mackey watching. Diaz, my good friend, and he's also a Detroit Lions fan, which wow. Who could fuck up that game versus Arizona like you guys? Only the Detroit Lions could give it. What was it, a 24-point lead? And they came back in the 4th quarter and tied you guys. And then it ended in a tie, which I really put that on Arizona. Jeremy, my best friend in the whole universe. How are you? My oldest friend. How are you? Scott Berman is watching. How are you, Scott Berman? Welcome. Yes, so we're talking fantasy football. It's time to talk matchups, lineup questions. And Diaz Mackey corrected me. They were up 18 points in the 4th quarter and ended up tying. So that only Detroit could really screw the pooch like that. What a slide. I know, thank you, Rob. Yes, I get very excited about this. I love talking that stuff. Aviv, how are you? Love you too. Thanks for showing me the love. Jennifer Lively, how are you? Go Cowboys. That's right. Evan Golden, what's up? Golden TV. Follow him on Instagram. And Jeremy Schwartz, who is my oldest and best friend in the whole universe, he cares nothing about football or fantasy football, and yet he just became the voice of the Miami Dolphins. Agreed. Yeah, that's right, Evan, you're a Dolphins fan. Jeremy Schwartz is now, when you go to the games, all the promos, you're going to be hearing Jeremy's voice as the voice of the Dolphins now for all their interior promos that they'll be playing before each and every game. Because of course it's like the jobs at the weed stores. Okay, the weed stores opened up, and suddenly there were job opportunities for stoners. But did stoners get any of the jobs? No, they all just went to hot girls who occasionally smoke weed. So it's the same thing. They didn't even. But Jeremy does have the greatest voice in the world, and I'm excited for him. And hopefully it expands. He's also done other. Didn't you do some NFL spots before, Jeremy? I think you did. I think you were the voice of an NFL team at some point or another. So there was some other stuff in there, but let's get to it tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Tampa Bay versus Carolina. Now listen, I think that for Carolina, I think you're going to see them finally kind of balance out. Okay, so wait a minute. We have our first question of the show. Adrian Peterson, sit or start? And I have to be honest with you, I'm going to say start. And this is against my beloved Dallas Cowboys. I will not be starting him on my team because I don't necessarily need him on the team that I have him on the bench. And I just don't want to start him against my beautiful Cowboys. I had Saquon Barkley against him last week, and it was tough sitting there watching the game, and then he would do something good, and everyone's like, boo, and I'm like, I mean, yes, boo, yes, but also, yay. So that's the one thing. Chris Thompson will be better. I don't know about that. I think they're gonna have to pound the rock to have any kind of an offense. And here's the thing, and you know me, I'm an emotional impetus guy. Everyone else covers all the X and O's, 24 starts and this many yards, blah, 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 blah. Now keep in mind, Adrian Peterson, while incredibly hot and cold, was a 1,000-yard runner last year. And I'll say this as well. Adrian, I'm always coming at the emotional, what's their drive for this game? And Adrian Peterson was a healthy scratch last week. We're talking future Hall of Famer, two-time, 2,000-yard runner, was a healthy scratch. You think he sat at home and was just like, okay, I guess I got day off? Do you really think that? Because I promise you, he was seething about not being on the sideline. And so what I think, all right, so Jeremy Schwartz says ESPN NFL voice 2003 through 2008. That's what I thought. So Jeremy has been involved. What a voice. That guy's just got the best. Paul, how are you? Welcome to the show. So when it comes to fantasy football, when Adrian Peterson, I think he's going to come out motivated. I think he's going to come out angry. And when Adrian Peterson runs angry, you got your hands full, brother. Even if you're this emerging Dallas defense, who I believe is playing at home. I think they're playing in Dallas. I'm not entirely sure. But let me take a look. Because they're a 10 a.m. game. I know that, which is also a bummer. When you're a comedian, 10 a.m. games are a little... Thank you, Matt Devance. Yes, I have a very good time. I get very excited about football. But let's see. Dallas is actually in Washington. So they're in Washington. I got to tell you, I'm starting Adrian Peterson if you need an RB2. That's the only reason I would start him. I wouldn't start him if you needed a good flex. You should have some better wide receiving options. And if you're talking about a flex spot, then yes, I think Chris Thompson, with his, with the PPR thing might be better for a flex. But if you need an RB2, I just think Adrian Peterson's going to come out running like a man on fire. That's what I think. That's the feeling I get. Okay. But let's talk about Tampa Bay, Carolina. Obviously, we saw last week that the offense is running clearly through Christian McCaffrey. But as I've said before, folks, week 1 is not always indicative of the rest. This week 2 is kind of the settling in. This is when it kind of settles in and you begin to see what they're really doing and things begin to kind of shake out in week 2. And that's when I think they are going to be throwing a little bit more. Carolina is at home, and so I think they're going to try and get Cam Newton going against the Tampa Bay defense that admittedly they have Ndamukong Suh now, but Ndamukong Suh over the last few years hasn't really seemed to be that much of a factor. And so when you look at this, I think this is the opportunity for them to get him going. I see a good night for somebody in the receiving corps. I have DJ Moore. I'm playing DJ Moore. I hope it's DJ Moore, but it could be Samuel. One of these guys is going to get going tonight, and one of them I think is going to have a pretty big night. Now, On the Tampa Bay side of the ball, we began to see Ronald Jones begin to kind of take over last week. We began to see him in the fourth quarter begin to really show his stuff. I think you're going to see that trend continue, even though Barber is the starter once again. I think ultimately you're going to see Ronald Jones begin to emerge, and I think that emergence starts this weekend. I also, again, in the get right thing, I think Jameis Winston. I mean, you got to keep in mind, folks. It's even though yes, it is Bruce Arians. When he took over in the Colts offense, he had already been there. So it was a much easier transition. And when he took over in Arizona, there was literally nowhere to go but up. Now, with Tampa Bay, again, it's a whole new system that they're having to learn. And last week was their first real week of running it. I think they settle in a little bit, and I think you see the production this week. Jameis Winston probably still throws a pick. I don't like Jameis Winston generally. I think he's wildly inconsistent. I don't, him or Cam both. I'm not crazy about them in terms of fantasy quarterbacks. But I think you see Mike Evans get his number this week. And I think you see Chris Godwin get some production as well. So I think it's going to be a relatively decent scoring game. I think you're going to see somewhere in the 24-27 range, 20 to 23, something like that. I think it's going to be pretty good. So we'll see. Greg Olsen, let's see if he can stay healthy. I mean, listen, play him if you got him because he's only got another week or two. So play him if you got him. Tampa Bay, O.J. Howard. Listen, guys, I've never been on the O.J. Howard hype train. I don't see O.J. Howard being a huge, but who knows? Maybe he's going to have like one or two, or like Eric Ebron. He's going to have like 3 monstrous games, and the rest are all going to be fucking Blutarskis. 0.0. Scott Berman, I need a wide receiver desperately in my league. I have both Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. Would you trade Mahomes? Oh my goodness. Mahomes for DeAndre Hopkins. The answer to this is no. And I will tell you why. If anything, try and trade Lamar Jackson. Maybe you don't get DeAndre Hopkins for him, but get somebody serviceable for him. And I'll tell you why, and we're going to talk about it right now. That brings us to the Baltimore and Arizona game. Talk about a shaking out. Talk about an evening out. Okay, now, I'm not saying this is a great matchup for Lamar again. He should have another monster week. That's why I would trade Lamar, because I also think Arizona is an underrated defense. They began to really show up. They shut down Detroit after getting beat up for 3 weeks. They found their legs. They shut them down, and they gave their offense an opportunity. And I think it was because the offense began to show life. The offense began to be like, oh my God, we can score points. Let's do it. Let's throw the ball. Let's fucking make it happen. And so when it started happening, the defense picked up their game. If that carries forward, here's the thing. Now, even though it looks on paper like Baltimore should come in there and just pummel these guys, for me, there will be a settling down. If you remember, Mitch Trubisky had that 1-5 touchdown game last year. They were playing the Miami Dolphins, guys, who is the worst team. 32 out of 32 teams. Okay? And so, although Diaz is blaming it on Detroit, saying they play conservative and that the defense sucks, I don't know, maybe they do, but they managed to play better. They managed to make a comeback. And so, while I don't know if this is the week that Baltimore slows down, it will be very telling to see what kind of a game, because now people see him coming, they're prepared for him, they're going to game plan for him a little bit differently as a passer, which obviously Miami was only playing to stop the run, which left everybody open all day downfield. They made 0 adjustments at halftime. It was just crazy. Miami, what's going on in Miami? Is it just too much? Is it too hot? Is it the humidity? Is it the cocaine? What is it? Something's going on down there. They can't keep it together, I'll tell you what. So here's the thing. Arizona, listen, if you are David Johnson, obviously look back to form. He was a guy that, I doubted him. I wasn't that high on him. I didn't think he was going to. I wanted to see it first. And boy, he showed it last week. It was the David Johnson show. But this Baltimore defense is for real. So, and Diaz may be right. Maybe they are tanking for Tua. That would be a great idea for him because Tua is phenomenal. But I don't think they're tanking for Tua. I think they're tanking, and then as a result, might get Tua. But Baltimore's defense, I think, is going to absolutely have. I mean, this defense, I think, is the number one defense. The way they play, I'm scared for Arizona. I wouldn't. David Johnson you expect him to take a hit. Larry Fitzgerald, I mean, I got to play him because my wide receivers. Listen to what's happened to me with wide receivers. I lost Tyreek Hill in one league. I've lost Antonio Brown in the other league. One league, Le'Veon Bell, now he's on he's same team with Tyreek. If I lose him, although luckily the MRI came back that he's okay. But I mean, if I lose him, I'm like, oh my God. That team is just taking bullets right now. But I'm dealing with, and I lost Hunter Henry. So on one team, it's Le'Veon Bell, Hunter Henry, and Tyreek Hill all on the same team. I'm taking bullets. Or maybe that's the Antonio Brown team. Anyways, and listen, we'll talk about Antonio Brown in a minute. So in this one, listen, temporary expectation for Kyle. Don't start Kyler Murray. I mean, you have to start David Johnson. I have to start Larry Fitzgerald. And if anyone is going to catch it over 4 quarters, it's probably going to be Fitzy. But I expect the Baltimore defense to have a field day, and it'll be interesting to see if they get slow. But this would be a great week. It should be another monster week for Lamar. It should be. On paper, absolutely. So if you could trade for Lamar, trade Lamar this week. Don't trade Mahomes. Don't trade Mahomes. Because I think the Lamar thing, when they run into, we're going to see a little bit different when they run into some better defenses. We're going to see an evening out. Neil Hudson, which 2 should I start? He has Gallup, Ross, and Gordon. And you're going to start Tyler Lockett as your wide receiver 1. Listen, Lockett gave you enough production to justify that. Boy, those are some solid. I mean, the money start, I think, is Josh Gordon. Because they're going up against Miami. I mean, that is definitely the biggest dominant matchup. And in terms of Antonio Brown, I mean, I just don't see Antonio Brown playing that much this week, if he plays at all. Don't be surprised if he's just a healthy scratch. Because think about Jason. What's up, buddy? Jason Andor's tuning in, talking fantasy football. Because that's the Patriots' offense is a notoriously complicated offense. And that being the case, I don't see how he could learn it in 3 fucking days. I don't know he could learn it in 5 days. I don't know anybody could. So I just don't feel like he's going to be the guy. He's going to take up that many snaps. So on paper, so Scott Berman says Gallup and Ross. I mean, Cincinnati has a decent matchup against San Francisco. Although, admittedly, San Francisco was the number 1 scoring defense last week. But I think that was more a matter of Tampa Bay. I think there was a lot of pressure in being at home with Bruce Arians. Everybody expecting them, a miraculous turnaround. They expected Lazarus to raise from the dead and walk out of the tomb, and that did not happen. So, I think San Francisco was playing loose and free, and they were on the road, and nobody expected nothing. So I think they had an amazing game. This will be very telling about their defense to see if they can pull that kind of performance off again. So for Cincinnati, yes, Ross is a good matchup, but Josh Gordon versus Miami is, to me, still the better matchup. But as always, Neil, you go with your gut, okay? Because it's always easier to say it about someone else's team than it is about your own team. I look at my team and like, I don't know. Because I'll tell you, here's what I'm dealing with, and you guys chime in about this, okay? I have Tom Brady and Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield going against the Jets team, now starting Trevor Siemian, okay, and a banged-up Le'Veon Bell, and a banged-up Robbie Anderson, okay. And looking to rebound after getting humiliated in Game 1 versus the Tennessee Titans, a game they were expected to win. So, but now Brady is obviously supposed to go down to Miami. Miami just got rocked for 53 points, okay? 5 touchdowns to Lamar Jackson. And Brady just threw for 4 touchdowns of his own last week. Right, exactly. Scott Berman chiming in saying, Brady by a mile. However, Scott Berman and everyone else watching this, I want you to remember, think about it. Tom Brady, in his best seasons, for whatever reason, struggles in Miami. There's something about the humidity, the Cuban ladies, I don't know what it is, but when he gets down there, 59 points. Evan Golden, a Miami Dolphins fan, just corrected me. It was 59 points. By the way, it wasn't 53 points. It was almost 60 fucking points right up our fucking ass. I know. And that's why I feel like, maybe they come out and play deflated, but if there's one team that, hey, there you go, Neil, no problem. If there's one team that like the one game that they're going to play, remember how Jacksonville beat the Patriots in week 2 of last year and then sucked the rest of the season? There's something about the Patriots down in Florida. They struggle, and it's and there you go, Diaz Mackey. He's lost 5 of his last 6 games there. There's no getting around that. RG3 scored on my, I know, but that was last week. And I'm telling you, there's something about when the Patriots go to Miami that he just fucking struggles. So I have to tell you, while the projections show 28 points for Brady and 22 points for Baker, everything in me wants to play Baker Mayfield on Monday night versus a limping Jets team. So, because the power of humidity, Evan Golden, right, that's what I think it is. I think the humidity zaps his fucking powers. I think that's his fucking kryptonite, is humidity. Because he's used to being in the crisp New England fall air. And then he goes down there and he's just schwitzing all over himself. And you know what it is? He probably doesn't feel pretty. That's what it is. Le'Veon Bell, right now the MRA just came back on Le'Veon Bell. He no structural damage on the shoulder. It's just soreness. So he should play. But I backed him up with Ty Montgomery, and I even picked up Ty Montgomery in another league just in case. Because if he ends up not reporting, I'm putting him in, boy. So we'll see. Scott Berman is very adamant. He's like, you can't bench him, dude. Listen, I realize that. And you know what? In reality, I don't think that I can bench him. I really don't. It's too juicy. It's too juicy a steak. But I'm telling you, I feel like we're going to meet back up here next Tuesday, and I'm going to be like, what did I fucking say? I told you that Brady struggles in Miami, and that Baker will throw for 40 fucking. I'm telling you, if I lose this week, it'll be because I failed to pull the trigger on playing Baker over Tom Brady. All right, let's move on. San Francisco and Cincinnati, we kind of covered it already. San Francisco, obviously, I mean, if you have Matt Breida, he's got a great matchup right there. I think this is going to be, Garoppolo should have a good day. I mean, this should be a lot of bounce back happening here. Cincinnati, listen, John Ross, let's see if he's the real deal. Let's see if I have to play him in one of my leagues because it's either him or, who's the other one? I have somebody else, and they have such a tough matchup. Oh, it's versus Chicago, Emmanuel Sanders. And I'm sorry, Denver versus Chicago, that is a scary matchup. I don't like anybody, but I do think you should start Breida. I think Breida has a great matchup here against Cincinnati. Obviously, the problem you're going to have on the Cincinnati side of the ball is this. Joe Mixon says he's going to try and play. So I feel like that's going to make him active, which is going to fuck anybody that starts either Joe Mixon or Gio Bernard. Because either Mixon tries to gut it out and then just wastes half a game before they put in Gio Bernard, or he's going to go and play 1 or 2, and then you're going to start him, then he's not going to take him out, and then you can't start, Giovanni Bernard. So listen, if you can stay away from that, unless it's definitive that Joe Mixon is not playing, then I would have a tough time putting either one of them in the lineup because it's gonna be one of those things that's gonna fuck you mid-game. And generally speaking, so Tyler Boyd, I think he was serviceable. Again, generally for me, he's a continuous disappointment, but he was serviceable last week. Versus San Francisco, again, let's see what the San Francisco defense is made of. I honestly think last week was an anomaly. I think it's going to be much different this week. I don't think that San Francisco defense is going to be anywhere near the top scoring defense, but I could be wrong. But Nick Bosa already a little showing, I think he was out of practice yesterday, sat out practice today. I think something like that. He's already a little banged up right here. There he is. There's the man right there. The man. Fist bump. For Rain Dakota Prescott. All right. So let's move on. Chargers at Detroit. Listen, this should be a great day for the Chargers. For their defense. Their defense should have a monstrous game. Kerryon Johnson, he was a guy that I was like, I don't know, I'm not buying it. He didn't show very much, but they are home. But I expect the Chargers defense to do a really good job in this game. I expect Detroit to struggle pretty hard. I don't like anybody on the Detroit offense. I don't like Galladay. I don't like Jones Jr. The only guy, obviously, TJ Hawkinson. But again, let's wait and see. Was that just a big game for TJ Hawkinson? Or is he the truth? We'll be seeing a lot of that. And Scott Berman, yes, Austin Eckler, Rocky Dale, Kurt Bossa, how are you guys doing? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Reality Show. If you have any matchup questions, if you have any dilemmas, any players, you put them in. Theismann, listen, Theismann is going to be magnificent on the golf course this weekend. If you can catch him, he'll be down there in Florida. He's going to be fantastic. Oh, Rocky Dale Dennis says, I sat Derrick Henry last week and started Sony Michel. Can I tell you something? Matthew Berry, everybody was all like, I hate Derrick Henry. And I was like, this is one of those situations where you don't know what you're going to get, and you got to go with your gut, and you play your studs. Listen, Sony Michel's in the same position he was last year, which is, Bill Belichick has zero allegiance to any running back, and as we saw last week, it was more, I think, James White than anything. Now, this could be the week that Sony Michel has a bounce-back game, and because he was bad last week, I think he's good this week, and I would play him. Derrick Henry, he's the love of my fantasy football life, and I think we just saw a taste of what I hope, that's my dream, that's what I hope. Hopefully, when they were playing Dion Lewis and throwing in the ball again, I was like, you motherfuckers, you get it. But then that short swing pass, the into the flat to Derrick Henry, 82 fucking yards. I'm telling you, man, you play Derrick Henry no matter what. Start Olsen tonight, I say yes. Play him while you got him. He's only good for one or two more games, and I think it's a decent matchup versus Tampa Bay. I think he'll have plenty of opportunity. I would go ahead and start Olsen tonight if you don't have anybody better. So Chargers, I love all the Chargers. Play your Chargers. I hate all the Detroit Lions. But if you got to play Kerryon Johnson and TJ Hawkinson, then you got to play those guys. I know, Rocky. I'm telling you, and since he came out of college, I've been waiting for this season. They put him behind DeMarco Murray for 2 seasons. Then last year, I was like, oh, here it comes, King Henry. And then they played Dion Lewis for fucking 9 games. And I lost my mind. The guy's a monster. He's the best. Just give him the fucking ball. Yeah, don't let those idiots lie to you. You got to go with your gut. You got to believe in what it. Oh, you also saw Larry Fitz. I played Larry Fitz because I said if this offense works at all, he's got to hit Larry Fitzgerald. Mike Williams. Yeah, Mike Williams does have some health issues. You got to check him on the day-to-day. But listen, if he plays versus Detroit, you put him in there. Rocky Dale says, I told people how great he was. If he gets 5 yards to get steam, he will get 30 yards. That's exactly right. And that's the thing that hopefully the Titans have figured out, which is you have to just keep boom, boom, boom. You got to let him warm up. You got to let him wear that defense down. If you just take him out all the time, he's never going to get the mojo going. But you let him get going, and he's going to destroy that line. By the third quarter, they won't even want to touch that motherfucker no more. They're going to be like, no. I'm telling you, man, nobody wants to get hit by this man. Let him run the ball. Okay. So Chargers Detroit. Eckler, listen, I thought Justin Jackson, Eckler showed, this is the guy I thought he might be last year that he wasn't. He showed that he can be that guy this year. But again, there's going to be a settling down this week. Let's see if he is still that guy this week. Okay, this will be a very telling week for him. Obviously, if you have him, you're playing him. It's a great matchup versus Detroit. You absolutely play him. But it will be very telling to see if he continues his trend. I think he might. And that's only going to make Melvin Gordon's, he may be this year's James Conner. He may just, right? I'll tell you what, Melvin Gordon was watching it like, you motherfucker. He's like, Judas. Fucking Judas. All right, moving on. Minnesota at Green Bay. I think you got, listen, the Green Bay defense looked fantastic last week. But again, I think it was more Chicago looking out of sorts than Green Bay's being so amazing. I think the pressure, again, being at home, big, all the expectation, David McGum, all this. I think the pressure was too. I think they didn't play enough in the preseason. It's so funny, and I'll get to that in 1 second. Houston, Rocky Davis says, Houston D or Cleveland D? Absolutely the Cleveland defense. Absolutely because of the injuries. You played that Cleveland defense with authority. But I think the pressure was on Chicago, and I think you're going to see a much different game this week. But going back to Minnesota versus Green Bay, listen, Minnesota, I like the way they're like, whatever's working, just keep doing it. Dalvin Cook was hot, so they just rode him into the ground, which I actually think is a very, very bad plan for Minnesota, because Dalvin Cook, he's a guy that gets injured real easy. And for me, right now, the over-under is 3 more games, and I'm taking the under before those knees go out once again. But listen, play him if you got him, because he looked amazing. But I expect this week, I think Green Bay is going to definitely be focusing on trying to shut him down. But then, listen, now Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, I think Cousins has a good game. I think Stephon Diggs gets back on track. Thielen gets back on track, although monitor Stephon Diggs. He has that tweaked hammy, and that can really be one of those things that, like, they ignore it, he plays through it, but ultimately dramatically affects their game, especially when you're talking about a speedster who's more of a down-the-field threat as opposed to Adam Thielen, who's going to be, more, catching you in that slot. Todd Hamlin, what's going on? Dave Williamson, welcome to it. You have the meats. Green Bay, on the Green Bay side of the ball, I mean, listen, this Minnesota defense looks back to form. They look like they're coached back up. They're feeling good. They looked great last week. I like this Minnesota defense. So Green Bay, consequently, I mean, obviously Aaron Rodgers should do pretty well. Devontae Adams should get back on track. Again, the settling in, the second game, I think him and Devontae Adams connect again. But ultimately, I mean, I'm scared for Aaron Jones. I don't know that Aaron Jones is going to be that productive this week, because I think that's a very tough matchup against Minnesota. But if you got him, you probably have to start him because he is a stud. Don't play the Green Bay defense. I don't think the Green Bay defense has the week that they had last week. I'm saying sit the Green Bay defense. Jacksonville versus Houston. Okay. Here's the thing. If you're watching the Houston game last week, you did see that, despite their best efforts to shore up the line, Deshaun Watson got hit a lot. And this was by New Orleans, okay? So, and New Orleans is good, but Jacksonville, you saw what they did to Mahomes last week. They're going to bring that to Houston. And they're going to have an easier time getting to Deshaun Watson than they did. And they're going to be on the field a lot. And let me tell you something else about this Minshew kid. I like this kid. I watched this game. This kid's a gamer. This kid ain't in there to fucking just, get through the games until Foles. No. This kid's a winner. I like this kid. I don't know. I got a vibe about him. And it's the eye test. Okay, so really quickly, stepping away from this, Rocky Dale Davis says, do you think Julio will start getting targets, or has Ridley changed that? I mean, listen, Julio will, of course, get targets. I think that was a bad, again, starting at home. If you notice, they were saying it like I think a majority of road teams won last week because there was just so much pressure. Week 1, it was very good for road teams. I think that things are going to balance out. I think Julio has a very big game this week. But back to Jacksonville, Houston. I think the Jacksonville defense gets to Deshaun a lot. That being said, and, Jalen Ramsey, the guy knows how to cover guys. Now, DeAndre Hopkins is almost unstoppable. Gardner, Flint Minshew II. Listen, the kid can play fucking football, okay? The kid was balling last week. He put up like 225 yards. I mean, nobody's talking about him, but we're going to be talking about him. But, so I think he's going to be serviceable. I think, I'd like to see Leonard Fournette get back on track. He showed a few sparks. I think maybe they were a little, reserved with the amount of touches they gave him. Hopefully that goes up. It's going to have to, but obviously Houston's going to play to stop the run, force Minshew to throw. So, ultimately, I want to see if DJ Chark, if you're looking for a replacement wide receiver, he's a guy that's out there that clearly Minshew looks for. It's one of those things that that the backup quarterback is used to playing on the backup squad with a certain guy, and that guy is DJ Chark. So, if you're looking for a backup a wide receiver too, you're in the dirt. I went with John Ross. For me, it was between John Ross, and I like the matchup better because of defenses. So I went with John Ross versus San Francisco over DJ Chark versus Houston. But DJ Chark, I'm telling you, he's going to be the guy that Minshew's looking for more than anybody else. Dede Westbrook or start Curtis Samuel tonight. Curtis Samuel is a straight up gamble. I would not. I mean, he might be the guy, but it's tough to say. It could be DJ Moore. Dede Westbrook, he's not the guy. Much the way Jordy Nelson was not the guy for Brett Hundley. Dede Westbrook is not the guy for Minshew. If I were you, I may drop Dede Westbrook, go pick up DJ Chark and start him. If I'm being honest, that's what I would do. That's what I do. John Mesh says, I hate Fournette. I wish I could show my nipple right now. Listen, John Mesh, that's because of last season. He completely fucked you last season because you wasted, I think, a first round or high second round pick on him. Or no, he was your keeper last year. That's right, he was your keeper last year. But this year, I think he's going to bounce back. I really do. And listen, okay, so Cam Newton fucking killed me last week. Rivers versus Newton. Good question, Rocky Dale Davis. And I'm going to say Phillip Rivers. Although I do expect Cam Newton to have a bounce-back performance tonight, absolutely. But Phillip Rivers up there, versus Detroit, I like it. I go Phillip Rivers on that all fucking day. But, to be honest, I don't think you can lose. I think they're both going to do quite well. I think they both have good games. But a deciding factor here, I don't generally like Thursday night games. In general, I try and stay away from them, and then I get drawn in because I want skin in the game. I want to play somebody, and then I play them, and it fucking sucks. There's nothing worse than a player that dies on Thursday night, except for a player that gives you like 40 points on Thursday night, and you go into the weekend thinking you're indestructible, and then the rest of your team shits the bed, and you fucking take a nosedive. Because that happens all the time, too. Okay, here we go. Keeper nipple video, that's right. Evan, maybe Cam Stylist can dress you for a next show. Oh my God. The way he dresses, it's just, it's a comedy. It's a comedy with the clothes that he puts on. You must be 6'5", 210, gorgeous black man to get away with wearing some of those clothes. You just do. Okay? Thank you, Rocky. Rocky goes, you're a fucking genius. Rocky, always go with your gut. Go with your choices. Those are my feelings, but you go with your choices. That is always what I say. It's always easier to say things for other people's team than for your own team. Just do me a favor. Go with your gut. Whatever you feel, you go with that. Lance, what's up, dude? Welcome to the show. We're talking fantasy football. If you have any matchup questions, you have anybody you're struggling, you're trying to figure out, who do I start? Put it in here, man. Let's chop it up. We got some great minds that are right here on the feed. We have Scott Berman. We have John Mesh. We have a lot of great guys that know fantasy football that are going to chime in. All right, let's keep going. I'm so excited. Ultimately, though, I think Houston wins this game pretty handily over Jacksonville because of the backup quarterback situation. And I do like, and I'll tell you who the guy that's really going to benefit in this one. If you have Will Fuller, you play Will Fuller. Because with Jalen Ramsey over on DeAndre Hopkins, it's going to be Will Fuller time. So play Will Fuller. Moving on, New England at Miami. Obviously, play everybody on New England. Don't play anybody on Miami. I went ahead and gave up Kalen Blanche just because I hate having pieces of losers. And I already have pieces of the Jets. I got slice of Washington. I got a slice, So, I dropped him. I let him go. But obviously, you're going to play everybody in New England. Although, like I said, Brady struggles in Miami. And as Diaz Mackey pointed out, that he's lost 5 of his last 6 games in Miami. I'm telling you, man, beware the tides of Miami. I was going to say more the tides of March, but it doesn't make any sense. What about Latavius Murray or Darren Sproles? Darren Sproles was an interesting thing that happened. Now, for me, I mean, listen, both these guys are troublesome because of the lack of usage. But I think once Miles Sanders really broke out last week, I think Sproles was definitely somebody they were using and wanted to see. But once Miles Sanders got going, I think he made it clear he's the running back now for the Philadelphia Eagles. Latavius Murray, at least he's going to see a little bit more action. He actually, in fact, if I were a Kamara owner, I actually would. I didn't think anything of it at the beginning of the season. I would be deathly afraid of his usage now because he straight up looked fantastic, and he's definitely going to vulture some things. I say you go with Latavius Murray over Darren Sproles. John Gardner, welcome to the show. We're talking fantasy football. If you have any fantasy football questions, obviously you may. John Gardner, for those of you who are still watching, he was my father's best friend. And as we all know, today is the 4th anniversary of the passing of my father, or 5th anniversary. Where are we? It was 4th anniversary. And so I'm thinking about him today a lot. Obviously, I take him with me in almost every show that I do because I took one of his cymbals from his drum set and I bang it with the microphone now during my shows. It's a lot of fun. You'll have to see. I got to get up there to Denver to do a show sometime. All right, moving on. Buffalo at the Giants. Listen, this Buffalo defense, it's not their offense. Their offense looks pretty good, and it's improving. Josh Allen's got that rocket arm. And remember, I thought it was going to be Zay Jones. Nope, it's John Brown. And John Brown is the receiver to own in that offense. And obviously, Devin Singletary is going to get some rushes. Thank you, Joey Eberline. I try to make him proud, when he's not looking. The Giants, listen, the Giants are going to struggle in this game. I have Saquon Barkley. It's going to be another tough outing for him. I think tougher than last week. This Buffalo defense is a very strong defense, and their front line is the strength of it. I think Saquon Barkley has a very tough day. I think the one guy that benefits the most is probably going to be Evan Ingram. But even then, what's his name is in Sterling Shepard is in concussion protocol. I think Buffalo actually beats up on the Giants pretty good. I like Devin Singletary. I love John Brown in this one. I love Josh Allen in this one. And I love the Buffalo defense in this one. To me, the only one you can actually play is going to be Saquon Barkley because you fucking have to. I'm benching Evan Ingram this week in favor of TJ Hawkinson because I just don't like, I'm afraid, I feel like, I don't know. But I may put him back in because ultimately someone's got to get the ball, and he's really all they got at this point. Angelo Lozado! Andre! Hola! How are you, brother? Good to see you. And Brian Bentley, how are you, my man? Welcome to the show. Again, if you play fantasy football, if you have a matchup question, you got a lineup question, please throw it in there, and we will be sure and address it. Again, we have a lot of great fantasy football minds. You got it, Neil Hudson. We got a lot of great fantasy football minds here in the stream, on the feed. So if you have a matchup question, please type it in. Let's chop it up. But I think the Giants are going to have a really tough day on Sunday versus Buffalo. I honestly think that defense is going to hurt them pretty good, and I think their offense is going to get off pretty hard. I like the Buffalo to beat them pretty good in this one. Hawkinson may be Rookie of the Year. We got to see more. I need a larger sample size. He could wind up being one of those like Eric Ebron where he has that monster game, then does nothing. So, I got to see a little bit more. We have not talked about the Raiders yet. Brian, we're going to get to the Raiders, and I think they're coming up in 2 games. We're about to talk about them. Herb, how are you, Herbert? Oh my God, I love this Herb thing. What a nice, subtle, consistent dig. It's fantastic. And not a football question, but what did Flo smell like coming in from Evan Golden? I got to tell you, I don't remember it being particularly, being anything. We weren't that close. I can tell you this. She smelled like she wore deodorant because I smelled nothing. So, but she's a wonderful person and an incredible person to work with, so generous and a lot of fun. What a jerk. Okay, let's move on. Seattle at Pittsburgh. I think for me, Pittsburgh's at home, and as we all know, they play a million times better in the ketchup bottle. But this Seattle defense is a resurgent defense that has a lot of great pieces, including one Jadeveon Clowney. So it's gonna. I think Pittsburgh. This is definitely, again, the settling in, becoming who you really are, getting back to who you really are. I think we're gonna see that in this game. I think we see Pittsburgh. I think Ben has a good game. I think I think Juju Smith has a very good game. I think Connor has a good game. I think they get back on track. I think the guy that really has a good day because of this defense is going to be James Washington. I think James Washington is going to be the guy to really put up some numbers. Seattle, on the Seattle side, I mean, they're going to try and grind it away with Chris Carson, which means he's probably going to get injured in this game. Because I don't trust Chris Carson to say out. But so far, he looks great, and he's clearly their featured back. There's no waiting around to see. This is definitely Chris Carson. Listen, the guy I think that gets off for Seattle, I think we're going to see more and more DK Metcalf. And you want to talk to someone that might challenge for Josh Jacobs. If anyone right now is a front runner for Rookie of the Year, it's Josh Jacobs. But I think it could come down to Josh Jacobs, TJ Hawkinson, and DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf, man, he looked real good. He looking real good. Don't think Tyler Lockett is that great. Okay, moving on. Indianapolis at Tennessee. I mean, obviously Indianapolis, listen, came out, and I was like, let's see if there's a team that comes out and is like, fuck them, we're still a team, we're still playing, and that's exactly what they did. And I got to give them a lot of credit for that. That being said, Tennessee's defense is fucking phenomenal. They're fucking phenomenal. Oh, yeah, Hollywood Brown, play Hollywood Brown, got to play him. Oh, he could be, listen, I'll tell you why Hollywood Brown is not going to be Rookie of the Year. He's got foot issues, and this will come up by the end of the season. Guaranteed, mark it down. And that is what ultimately will keep Hollywood Brown. And also, again, now defenses are going to be planning for him. They're going to be looking for him. They're going to put that safety back there deep. They're going to be not letting him get over the top as easily as he did against Miami. Or maybe he will. Maybe he's that kind of transcendent talent. We are going to find out. But this Tennessee defense, we got to accept the fact this Tennessee defense, I think they're for real. I mean, they're coached by Mike Vrabel, Patriots defensive guy. I think they're people weren't taking them seriously before last week when they came out and crushed Cleveland, which was a mixture of things. The hype, the partying, everything else. GSPN. Thank you, Craig Robinson, tuning in. Hey, buddy, welcome to the show, talking fantasy football. So I think this defense is going to, and they're at home, I think they're going to absolutely manhandle the Indianapolis Colts this week. I think this is a great day for Derrick Henry, my favorite Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, King Henry, everybody. I think Derrick Henry, I think it's a great day for Delaney Walker. I think even Corey Davis gets back on track and starts having some good ones, some reception. Although the Brown, J.R. Brown, the receiver, might be the guy that gets through. But I think Tennessee has a great day, and I think and listen, I know you're going to play Marlon Mack. I know he came out guns blazing last week, and I like Marlon Mack. But I'm telling you, this Tennessee defense is going to eat his lunch, making sure Jacoby Brissett throws the ball. T.Y. Hilton, he had a surprisingly good breakout game. But I don't know that Tennessee is going to let him have that day this week. I think it's a bad day. But again, if you have T.Y., play T.Y. He's a stud. But Marlon Mack, you got to play him because of what he did last week. But man alive, I see it being a very, very different week for Indianapolis. Dion Lewis is droppable, unrosterable. The story is yet to be told on the usage. I'm not a huge fan. I don't know how much, but I mean, they did use him, and it was pissing me off. But they did, once they started using Derrick Henry, it became pretty fucking apparent they need to stick with Derrick Henry. But right now, I think you hold on for Dion Lewis. Don't drop him, not yet. Now. After this game, we'll know. If this is full-on Derrick Henry time, then I think for now you can probably let him go. If you have the time, you can hold on to him. Forrest Green, how are you? I was recently back performing in Irving, Texas, near our old stomping grounds, and in fact talked about being a shitty waiter at the Bennigan's in Las Colinas. Hey, remember finger banging at the Mustangs in Las Colinas? I think everybody did that. Okay, moving on. Dallas at Washington. Like I said, Dallas defense, resurgent defense, but they're playing in Washington. And Washington, they didn't look good last week. The one thing is Adrian Peterson is a generational talent, even though he's old, and he, I think, is going to be coming out, playing angry, playing hard, running hard. Even against a very good Dallas defense, I feel like he's probably going to have a good day, but he's pretty much the only person I would play on the Washington side of the ball. On the Dallas side of the ball, I mean, listen, they should just have a great day. I like Jason Witten. He had a touchdown last week. I think he's going to have a touchdown again this week. I like all the receivers. I think the way that Kellen Moore is doing that. Talk about it. You know, they keep trying to bring all this college game to the pros. Guess who's doing it? Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is bringing the Boise State philosophy to the NFL. And the Boise State philosophy is this: we have no philosophy. There is no philosophy. It's whatever the situation requires. So last week it was pass heavy. Maybe this week it's going to be run heavy. But you can count on Kellen Moore to adjust to the situation and basically be like water, baby. Be like water. And just make it. I'm very excited about but we'll see. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Very funny. Scott Berman with a good one. Let me share this. AP is a generational talent. Your parents' generation. Zing! Got him. We'll see on Sunday. And I'm not saying I don't want him to have a great game. Look at what I'm wearing. Fucking look at me. I'm all Cowboys up. My co-host is Rain Dakota Prescott. But yet, I cannot... I'm not going to deny the fact that I think he's going to come out and listen, when he's on fire, when he's determined, he's tough to stop, no matter who you are. And John Wilson, listen, I hope AP does get shut down. But listen, I'm not going to be happy to be right, but I'm more right than wrong. Kansas City and Oakland. Listen, Oakland, you could tell, I mean, it was like they just got released from the hospital. They're like, I'm free, let's run, let's enjoy life. I want to ski, I want to do a jet ski, I want to go kayaking, I want to see Machu Picchu. Like, God, the energy they had last week was fucking, Jonathan Mesh, start Gallup or Cooper. Come on, man, are you serious? Cooper all day. So in this game, obviously, now, here's the thing, and I was so worried about Damien Williams, but this is the week that Shady McCoy, you saw him touch the ball last week. He was playing pretty fucking great. This is going to be old man weekend. This is going to be old man weekend. All these old motherfuckers going to play good. AP's going to play. Shady going to play. They're going to be sitting there. I mean, it's going to be, I think Shady, this is the week you see Shady start to step in and really start to take some of those snaps away from Damien Williams. So I would play Shady. And I think you have to play Damien Williams too. But it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. I would say hold on to Mecole Hardman and see what his usage is like. Sammy Watkins, I mean, the problem you have now, much like with Hollywood Brown, is that secret's out. Everyone's going to be looking for you now. They're going to try and keep you from getting over the top. We'll see what he's going to be like. And yes, I like Witten this weekend too. Yes. Like I said, I see him getting a touchdown as well. But, I mean, Kansas City, Oakland. Oakland, I mean, they're at home. Josh Jacobs is I think, Trix, what's up, buddy? I think Oakland is, Josh Jacobs is a revelation. I think we're going to see nothing but more of that. I like Tyrell Williams here. He looked fantastic. We'll see if they get Hunter Renfrow going. Don't start Hunter Renfrow. Definitely start Tyrell Williams. And of course, Darren fucking Waller. Can I tell you? Okay. So Darren Waller is one of those guys that I wanted. Drafted him in one league. Went and got him in another one. Because I was afraid it was just the old, I've watched too much Hard Knocks. And I'm like, he just looks so good. And he's got motivation with the recovery and all that. And I love a player with motivation. Because sometimes that could be the extra step. And he's got it. I think Darren Waller is the main receiving target this weekend. I think he's going to have a monster game. I think him, Josh Jacobs. And then on the Kansas City side of the ball, I mean, obviously, you're going to play Mahomes. You're going to play Kelsey. I think Kelsey has a huge game in this one. I think Kelsey has an incredible game because he absolutely will get off. So I like those guys. I don't like either defense, which probably nobody's playing them anyway, but just so you know. So, T.Y. Will, baby. I don't know. Are you talking about T.Y. Hilton and his game up there in Indianapolis? Don't count on it. This Tennessee team's fucking amazing. That defense they are a defense to be reckoned with. Mark my words. Okay, moving on. Let's move on to Chicago at Denver. Okay, listen. I do think towards the end of last week, Denver's offense sort of started to begin to come together. Oh, Tyrell. Yes, Tyrell. Thank you, Trix. Tyrell will have a great game. I love Tyrell in this matchup. I think him and Darren Waller are must-starts. Absolutely. Now, Denver began to put it together. They finally put it together with Flacco and with Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, it was the Cortland Sutton show at the fucking the first 3 quarters of the game. And they're like, oh, that's right, we have this amazing weapon in Emmanuel. And they may have been trying to work him in because he was a little banged up last year, actually ruptured Achilles. So will he finish the season? I don't know, but while he's playing. But I think, if anything, this is a get-right game for Chicago. I think that defense, I don't like Philip Lindsay. I'm not playing him in one league, playing him where I have to in another league. I don't like Fant. I don't like Emmanuel Sanders. I don't like Cortland Sutton. I don't like anybody in this game. If you can not use them, don't. Chicago defense, I think, is going to just run roughshod over them. And I think that, of course, I thought this last week about Green Bay, but I think a lot more this week considering how out of sync that Denver offense still seems to be and how porous their defense was last week. Shockingly bad performance by their defense. They got dumped by a lot of teams. So they may wind up being better. But here's the thing. Here's the one thing. Here's the one caveat. Here's the one little thing. The one thing is this. Denver is coached by the former defensive coordinator of the Bears, which means he knows that team inside and out. So if there are any weak spots, guess who knows how to hit them? Fucking Denver. So that is the big X factor in this whole game. Is fucking whether or not Fangio can give them enough information to stop what I think is going to be a Chicago steamroll coming through town. Oh, there you go. So Trix has the Chicago D and Mac as your defensive player. Listen, in my estimation, again, just like the Patriots down in Miami, Chicago in Denver on paper should be a blowout. It should be a monster game. But the X factors, for some reason, New England struggles in Miami, and for some other reason, and in Denver, the head coach used to be the defensive coordinator for Chicago, not like a couple years ago, like 6 months ago. So these are things to consider. But when you get out on the field, player to player, I with trepidation play anybody on Denver versus Chicago. And for Chicago, I mean, this is the week we see David Montgomery. I don't know why they did the thing with Mike Davis last week, and admittedly, Mike Davis looked pretty good, but I think this is the week they get David Montgomery the ball. He's the one weapon that Fangio doesn't know and hasn't seen, and I think this is the week we get production. I'm starting David Montgomery over Philip, the other one out of Denver. I forgot his last name, but I don't know, Philip somebody. You guys, fill me in. You guys always come with it. So that's my feeling there. Don't play the Denver defense. Play the Chicago defense. New Orleans at Los Angeles. Look, guys, if you're looking for a points bonanza, this is it. Get any slice of this and play it. And listen, talk about things getting right, settling in. We saw them kind of taking it easy on Gurley last week, and they put in Malcolm Brown, and he vultured those 2 touchdowns. I know, but now that isn't the big decoy because now they see that coming, so that they can't just put him in and have the offense play against the pass, defense play against the pass rather. So in this matchup, I think it's going to be a points bonanza. I don't like either defense because I think there's going to be a lot of scoring both directions. I like LA I like Jared Goff and Todd Gurley to really get back on track. I see Jared Goff putting you in the 28-point range, and I think Gurley, he's going to get those touchdown touches this week. He's going to give you those points. He's going to wind up somewhere in the 24 to 26 range. That's my feeling. And then on the New Orleans side of the ball, I like both the running backs. I think like we talked about Latavius Murray, he looked fantastic. He's definitely a flexible option there. I think you definitely play. Obviously, you're going to play Kamara. Obviously, you're going to play Michael Thomas. Obviously, and I say play Jared Cook. Jared Cook should see some more shares. I think he, week after week, is going to become more and more reliable and in sync. And I think Jared Cook is just going to get better and better. If you have tight end issues, play Jared Cook. And so I like that side of the ball. I like both sides. Play these guys. Like I said, Gurley, I don't think he gets vultured this week. I think both him and Jared Goff get right back on track with some big, big numbers. Let's see. Diaz Mackey says, same in Miami. Their coach was New England defense coach last year. Exactly. So, I mean, these are things to keep in mind. The coaching makes a difference. And when a team knows another team's inside, that's when it gets a little bit tricky. So, I don't know. I'm really feeling the switch to Baker over Brady. I really am. I may have to do it. I got to go with my gut. It may be the dumbest thing I ever do. Okay. Philadelphia and Atlanta. This is another one where I think Atlanta, listen, they're at home. The Philadelphia defense didn't seem, I mean, they let Washington score like 20 points on them or something in the first day. So, now Diaz Mackey is of the opinion that New Orleans blows the Rams out. Breeze and Payton are still pissed. Listen, as much as that may, and I believe in the motivational factor. I don't think it's a blowout. I absolutely do not think it's a blowout. They're playing in LA, which takes away just a little bit of their advantage of the noise of the Superdome. So a blowout I think is wrong. Do they win? Quite possibly. In a shootout? Absolutely. Brett Riley, what's going on, my man? We talked Kansas City Chiefs already. I think Shady starts to cut in there and do Damien's touches this week. I think Shady begins to start nibbling at it, and he's just going to eat it all whole within 3 weeks. But going to Philadelphia versus Atlanta, I think this is a strong opportunity to play both offenses. I think they both. The Philadelphia defense didn't thrill me last week, again, letting Washington score on them that much in the first half rather. And so I think you could play. I think Zach Ertz gets back on track. I think a guy you're going to see enjoy himself this Sunday is going to be fucking Zach Ertz. Deshaun Jackson, he's always going to get one of those a game. He's not going to get two like he did last week, but he's definitely going to get one. Play Deshaun Jackson, play Alshon Jeffrey, but play Zach Ertz. I think it's a big Zach Ertz day. And also Miles Sanders. And in fact, if I had to say, I think Philly maybe rolls Atlanta, but I think Atlanta's going to have to sling the ball pretty hard. Not sure about Devontae Freeman. Excuse me. But Julio Jones, big time bounce back game. Calvin Ridley, great game. I think you play I think you play Atlanta's offense. I think you play both offenses. Not crazy about both defenses. Although this may be the week that, Philadelphia's defense did tighten up in the second half. And if that's the defense they really are, then you might see Philadelphia really roll Atlanta. It could be brutal the way I see Tennessee rolling Indianapolis. But I could be wrong. I could always be wrong. You never know. Njoku or Delaney Walker at tight end. I'm going to say Delaney Walker. Even though, because I think Cleveland, on Monday night, I think it's going to be a ton of OBJ and Jarvis Landry. Njoku will get maybe 3-4 receptions, okay, but I think Delaney Walker is going to be a really big part of that offense. For me, Delaney Walker. But again, go with your gut. And it may be Njoku this week. He is due to get back on track after very little involvement in what was a very scattered performance last week. But yes, Scott, I agree with you. I believe Delaney Walker is probably the stronger choice this week. And you want to use Delaney Walker because he's going to be very injured soon. So use him while you got him. Because when he's good, he's very, very good. And then finally Monday night, Cleveland versus the Jets. I mean, listen, the Jets are falling. The wheels, week 2, and the wheels are coming off. Their quarterback has mono. Did he lick a subway handrail? How do you get what are you doing? It's probably not even his fault. He probably got it in the training room. So Darnold's out. As we said, it looked last week as if that calf strain was really hurting. Leslie, how are you, Your Honor? It really looked like that calf strain was hurting Robbie Anderson. He didn't have the breakaway speed. He wasn't getting away the way you would think he should. And just to really quickly double back to Atlanta versus Philadelphia, Evan, I do not like Hooper versus the Falcons on the Falcons versus Philadelphia. Don't like him, can't play with him. But in my opinion, I mean, obviously you got to play Le'Veon Bell. Other than that, I think you play that Cleveland defense. I think they get after Trevor Siemian. Although Trevor Siemian, I feel like he's one of those guys that plays good as a backup. He plays terrible as a starter, but he's good as a backup. Maybe he surprises us. But I think mostly this is where Cleveland shows you the hype. This is the one where Cleveland goes off. I think Baker Mayfield throws for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, maybe 1 to Njoku, 2 to OBJ, 1 to Jarvis Landry. I think that, or maybe Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb might struggle again. I'm still not crazy about Nick Chubb. But again, I think Cleveland, and if they're salting it away, then Chubb's going to get lots of opportunities. And that Jets defense could wear down and just get tired if that Jets offense can't generate anything, which I doubt. I mean, it doesn't look good for them. I think this Cleveland defense tightens up, shows what they're about to do. So I think there's a lot of things here that go. I think it's going to be all Cleveland's, 0 Jets. Here's what I see the Jets doing. The Jets, they're running out of gas. They've already lost an engine. They're going down in flames. Shelly Hargrove, how are you? Good to see you. Welcome to the show. Fantasy football, harsh reality. Do you have any fantasy football teams? Do you have any matchup questions that you're worried about? Any lineup issues that you're struggling over? This is where we talk about them. This is where we chop it up. So that's what we got going. Darnold's out. Le'Veon Bell's banged up. Robbie Anderson's got a leg problem. I love Jamison Crowder, but not without Sam Darnold. So, there it is. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this, please follow me on Twitter. I now have a Twitter account specifically. It's the FFHR podcast. It's for Fantasy Football Harsh Reality. At FFHR podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And every thought about football that passes through my mind is winding up on Twitter and Instagram. So be sure and follow me on those outlets. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been another great episode. Evan Golden, I love you, buddy. You guys, Scott Berman, Herb, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Tricks, you guys, happy footballing, and go Cowboys!